This is TWiT.
And I'm going to, one more thing I got to say on it, because there was a woman I was shooting up at that old House of Blues in LA, which doesn't exist anymore. It was a classic Sunset Strip House of Blues, a great venue, but it was a tiny stage and a tiny photo pit. And we're shooting Billy Idol. They're about to come out on stage. Literally, there's 7 photographers. We're all in the photo pit. Billy Idol's band's about to hit the stage. And the woman next to me leans over and goes, "How do I turn off the flash?"
Oh no.
And I mean, this is happening.
Bless her heart.
Yeah. Bless her heart.
Man.
But this was happening 30 seconds before the show was about to start. And all I could think of was, you knew this when they told you were going to be able to come and shoot.
Yeah.
Why didn't you figure this out beforehand?
Prepare.
There's pre-planning involved in all of these things. People always go, "Oh, you get to," yeah. If the tourist coming to town, I look at the pictures that other people have taken.
Right.
I look to see where people are standing on the stage. I look to see what the backdrop looks like. All those things, like when I walk to take a show, I already have to have whatever lenses I want on my cameras. I have to have a plan going. So all this is part of it. And for me, it makes no difference what I'm photographing. Well, it's landscapes, because landscapes aren't going to look back at you and go, "Hey, why aren't you looking at me?" But even landscapes, there's only a certain amount of time when you have that perfect light.
Right.
When you're shooting, you're shooting a sunset, and that you've got those minutes right as the sun, that right after it hits the horizon and drops down to where it goes full dark. You don't have like an hour to sit there and play around and go, "Oh, I wonder what this button does."
Feel like seconds.
Yeah, dude, they go away. So that's really the biggest thing when it comes to, for me, for photography and for starting out is people need to actually be able to use their stuff in the dark. Now, I say the big test is to sit and do it in a bar where you can't see what's going on, because a lot of times I shoot and it's got to be done in the dark.
Right.
So if
we can't really get out to bars, you can still make a room in your home low light and dark, and put some subjects in the corner. Put some figurines, put a glass or something random on your desk, like this phone case that I'm holding here for some reason. Why do I have a phone case on my desk? I don't know why. Good grief, that's neither here nor there.
I have Darth Vader behind me somewhere.
It's much cooler than a phone case.
But the idea is that people think that, and I get this impression a lot that when I pick up my camera, I'm going to be a photographer. So then I go and take the photographs, and then I come home and I take the photos out of my camera, and I don't ever pick up my camera again until I'm going to shoot again. And that's absolutely not true. Is I pick up my camera all the time to figure out, I wonder what would happen if I did this, or I wonder if, how I could do, these settings, or do I need to do 7 brackets or 9 brackets or 3 brackets if I'm doing HDR? But I test all that stuff out before it matters, because I'm never going to get like this Taylor Swift shot, again. And this is the little bit of the second you said in the beginning, photographing and post-processing. This is a raw file right out of the camera, out of my Nikon D700, which will tell you how old this picture is. No. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about is that Adobe has this is Adobe Camera Raw, and Lightroom is the same controls in the same order and the same setup. It's all done. And, Adobe has this all set up for you. So if you start up here on the top corner, you have your profile, and then your white balance, and then, your exposure and all this stuff. I'm going to suggest people start down here on this one that says clarity.
Yeah.
Because I find that a lot of people do all the other adjustments and they get down to clarity and they tweak it a little bit and the whole picture goes out of wonk. I like to adjust this one first because it actually adjusts the white and the blacks for you. It makes the blacks darker and the whites lighter. So you can
gives it a little contrast right out the gate.
Gives it a little contrast right off the bit. So just even doing that gives me a little bit more like, oh, okay, that's better. And then I usually pop the vibrance a little bit I like poppy colors for pop stars. It just seems to work. Now, once I got that going, then I can start working on, the highlights and the shadows. If I want the blacks to be a little blacker in the background, I can start working on it. Mm-hmm. But I am concentrating on this. I want to me, that's the main part of the picture. Right. So I'm trying to work on that. I don't really look at the rest as much, because to me, that's the subject. So now I can start really kind of tweaking the settings. If I do it the other way around, I get this all looking great, and then I try to add a little pop to it, and it suddenly gets blown out. It gets a little crazy.
Right.
I'm not saying this is for everyone. I'm just saying it's just a way to look at certain things. And then once I get it to where I like it, that's when I usually come in and crop a little bit.
Do your final crop on it.
Yeah, because if I would have had my way, I would have probably been sitting with some magical 50 to 400 millimeter 2.8 lens that doesn't exist in the world.
Dream on, sir. Dream.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of like 400 millimeter. That would be, if I could shoot everything with one lens, it would probably be a 400.
You definitely have to get your workout in using something like that, though. Those things are heavy.
I really love that, but that doesn't work. This was a 70 to 200. We were up close. This is again back in the day where Taylor wasn't playing the biggest stadiums in the world. She was still playing, smaller arenas. We had her, a couple of years running, and then because I'm an old school and I learned in the darkroom. Once I have it in here, my favorite tools are the dodge and burn tools.
Dodge and burn.
So I know you can use all kinds of things for backgrounds and radial filters and those kind of really cool things. But I'm a real fan of just kind of, and I have a Wacom tablet, so it's just, for me, it's a little bit of just painting in, and it's probably not going to show up real well on the Skype, but I can burn in some of this background. I can just kind of bring the attention.
Giving us some separation from the background now.
Yeah, so I can just bring it into her without having to over adjust the entire image, and I can kind of
We've been a big fan of selective adjustments here.
Yeah,
in some photography.
Selective adjustments are a great way to do it. You can do the same thing in Lightroom with the selective. You can just do like a -3 in exposure and paint in around the edges. I'm more of a fan of doing it this way when I'm editing a certain image, because if I'm getting to this point, then it's probably going to be used for something other than the web.
Right.
If I'm bringing it in, if I'm bringing it into Photoshop, it's going to be used for something other than Instagram.
Gotcha.
Regularly, that stuff is done in Lightroom, and I'm doing. So the reality is, if I'm shooting a concert, let's say Taylor, and 2 opening bands, there's going to be, and a trade shot, and probably some crowd shots, and some kids in the parking lot, and whatever's going on. There's going to be 1,000 images from that night.
Yeah.
I'll bring it into Lightroom. I'll take it down to 120 total. I will edit those. I will export them. I will send them in, and they'll have them either that night or the next morning. So I'm not going to sit there and try to sit here and like, do I remove this fringe or do I, But later on, when we're like, we have 16 of these images. Well, we had 16 of these images printed 22 feet long by 12 feet high that ring the inside of the arena. So once we're going to blow it up that size, then, we really will come in and edit.
It depends on your deliverable at the time.